Turning now to the crisis along the Myanmar-Bangladesh border, the UN says around 400,000 Rohingya people have fled violence in the Rakhine state in Myanmar. Tens of thousands are pouring into Bangladesh daily. The Rohingya are a Muslim minority group of about 1 million people who have been persecuted by Myanmar's government for years.
An armed rebel group attacked police posts last month. This triggered a new wave of violence and retaliation from Myanmar's military. And now innocent civilians are suffering.
It has taken us 20 days to come here. Our village was attacked by the army and Buddhist mobs. They burnt our house and my aunt was killed.
BBC News South Asia correspondent Justin Rowlatt is in Shaplapur, Bangladesh. Justin, this situation has been described as a textbook example of ethnic cleansing. That's what a top UN chief had to say about it. But you've spoken to the refugees. What do they say they've been experiencing?
But one of the most striking things, talking to refugees here, is how consistent and how similar the stories they tell are. Virtually all of them will tell you that their villages were attacked by soldiers, sometimes supported by helicopters, and also by mobs of local Buddhists. So the state is known as Rakhine. Rakhine Buddhists, they say, attacked their homes. In fact, just an hour and a half ago, I was speaking to a group of women who'd fled from one village, and they described absolutely horrific scenes. They were driven from their village. They hid in what they described as the jungle. Then a man came to them who said he would help them. They trusted him. He led this huge group of people out, only to discover that they'd been betrayed and that there was actually a group of armed Buddhists there who then, she said, proceeded to hack people, to rape some of the women, to shoot some of the men. These women managed to escape, and there was a really very, very sad moment when one of the women counted off on her fingers, naming all the 7 family members who had been murdered in that terrible attack. And stories like that, Anne-Marie, are repeated again by the refugees here.
Justin, what is the root of the violence that's triggered all of this?
Well, there is a long-standing antagonism between the Rohingya people, this Muslim ethnic group who live in this area of Myanmar, and the local Buddhists. That's been going on for years, possibly for centuries. Now, the Rohingya say their roots in Myanmar go back centuries to Muslim traders who settled there centuries ago. The Buddhists deny that. They refuse even to use the term Rohingya. They call them Bengalis. And the Bengalis are, of course, the population of Bangladesh and a large part of northeast India. So they claim that they're part of that ethnic group, that they've settled locally. They give them no rights, no citizenship. And, of course, that has developed antagonism between the Rohingya and the local Buddhists. And it escalated, as you said, in this confrontation where a group of staged a series of coordinated attacks back on August the 20th. Was this what the Myanmar government calls clearance operations, anti-terrorist operations they call them, which has led to this enormous flood of people crossing the border.
Justin, we're playing video, I presume your crew has shot, of people tumbling out of these boats, clearly carrying all they have, all their worldly belongings. We saw some video of them being handed out food being handed out in sort of small buckets. Bangladesh is not a rich country. Are there sufficient resources to deal with the 400,000 people that have left so far, and they're still coming?
I have to say that the aid operation, if you like, the effort to deliver basic supplies to these people over the last 3 weeks has been marked by disorder and by chaos. And, most of the refugees I've spoken to until very, very recently, and when I say recently, I mean the last couple of days, had no interaction whatsoever with the major international aid bodies and aid agencies. They came over here, as you say, with whatever they could bring with them. They had to buy the materials to build the little shelters that you see, these bamboo and tarpaulin shelters, plastic sheets they make their shelters out of. They've had to bring all of this themselves, spend their own money, and then well-meaning Bangladeshis have driven down, bringing truckloads of food and have handed it out. But that's just caused these terrible kind of, not riots, but huge kind of battles to get food. So people have, it's been a very, very chaotic scenes. Now the beginning of an orderly response is beginning. The World Food Programme said 25 kilo sacks of rice, enough food to last people for 2 weeks, to 150,000 people. So nowhere near the total that have come over. And you've got to remember that there was already a very large refugee population here. There were about 400,000 Rohingya refugees who'd come over in earlier waves of migration. So an absolutely enormous refugee crisis here. And as I say, marked by disorder and chaos, but the beginnings of an effort to meet these people's needs in a more organised way. And just to pick up the original point you made there, Bangladesh is indeed one of the poorest countries in the world and one of the most densely populated countries in the world, and it's very, very anxious indeed about its ability to deal with the refugees that it's got here.
Just a heartbreaking situation. Justin Rowlatt from the BBC in Bangladesh. Thank you so much, Justin.